right. Thank you. Thank you very much, fellow Africans, and welcome to our today's another episode number 71 of the Change for African campaign. Being on Monday, fellow Africans, as usual, it's all about our first pillar of the Change for African campaign, which is all concerned with the governance situation in Africa and what should be done in the governance area to make sure that we have a progressing Africa in terms of development and in many areas about how Africa can be bettered. Remember, governance is the software of development. And so, fellow Africans, this afternoon I am presenting to you, or I am relating our 71st episode of the Change for African campaign, which is all about governance, to our because I want to relate governance. For now, we are focusing on what we call the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and this is what will lead us until the end of this tunnel, all about UNSDG. Because as we say that looking at the UNSDG, they address the issues. They really address the issue that if they are implemented, then we'll be having a progressing world, and the world will change in terms of how it is doing in very different areas, And so about governance, that once we better governance, governance is going to steer up the development of Africa. So this is it's a global thing, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. But then we do this in the African context because we are Africans and Africa is our business. So we have to first focus with our home, so that we can get that global picture of being able to maybe now address the other issues. Though we're still part of the global community, but we discuss Africa because we're Africans and Africans are business. So fellow Africans, the very UNSDG goal I'll be dealing with is all about the UNSDG goal number 16. But then about number 16, rather one of its key targets, because we have already captured or dealt with the UNSDG goals, but then we are dealing with one of its key targets, which is all about target number 16.7, ensure responsive, inclusive, participatory and representative decision making at all levels, because we have 4 words, if I'm not wrong, or 5: responsive, inclusive, participatory and representation. Those are 4 words that when it comes to responsive, the response, the reaction of governance systems towards problem solving, or the problem that African community is facing, it has to be it should be a very proactive, the responsive, because remember, one of the reasons as to why many of the African population still suffers is because it is related to the governance systems. How? Because you realize that once a problem is identified, there's not that bold step or the proactiveness of coming out even before they need to have that early detection that Africans will be facing a particular problem. So we need to come up with channels and good foundations to be able to see how we are going to respond to that. And then inclusivity, speaking about the inclusive part of it at all levels, you realize that some of the other reason as to why the African population still just undergoes a variety of problems here and there, and maybe it's not developing Africa. Remember, Africa is still developing, but then it is taking too long. But then the other reason is because the inclusivity part of it is still wanting. How? Because some of the very key decisions that are supposed to be made, they only end up being decided by a few individuals, who are in the positions of governance. So once a few individuals take to their prerogative that they want to decide on a particular area of thing that is what is supposed to happen, then it becomes a problem actually. So we need a kind of a society or a kind of African whereby the majority of the people or their voice is heard, and they are able to just feel to be part of the African continent, and part of the decision making that lead to betterment of the well-being, or lead to their well-being as an African people. And then we have the participatory part of it that same to inclusivity. Inclusivity now comes to that those in the positions of governance or the position of power, they give it a chance to the other majority to be able to speak their voice. That is inclusivity in whatever capacity that they are in. And then speaking about the participatory, that are done now after being included, in the broader picture, now they are able to participate and give their views in one way or the other. And then speaking about representation, it's whereby now if yes, but we have different groups in Africa. We have the youth and just all the levels. If you may measure that in terms of age, you realize that now the representation part of it, that if it is representation, what type of representation are we experiencing? People need to be represented very well, that they represent people, the majority, because we're speaking about the democratic style of leadership. It's by many people, because all of us maybe cannot hold those positions of power. Then when we give or when some few people are given a chance to be able to represent people, then they need to make sure that they do it truly, as how it says, representation, that they are only answerable to the people who gave them a chance to represent them, or who gave them a chance to be leaders in various positions of leadership. So that is all about the target number 16.7 of the United Nations Sustainable Goal number 16, that ensuring a responsive, inclusive, participatory, and representative decision making at all levels. So this is about decision making. Decisions end up to be policies that are implemented, and once we have bad decisions being made, that is why development of Africa remains to lag behind as what is supposed to be, because as we have said, and I will repeat, that Africa is a land of great potential, and therefore, speaking about potential, every Tuesday, that is tomorrow, we will be speaking about the potential of Africa, also relating that is our pillar number 2, actually, potential. So relate that to one of the key targets of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Let's meet then as we discuss about potential of Africa. Remember, governance is the software of development in any in whatever capacity it is. I think you would have a great day and a great afternoon wherever you are. Thank you.